What is up, Worshippers? SeaRaptor here, and we are bringing you a first look at the Russian battleship line here, starting with Tier 6 Izmail. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with how this works on PTS, the community contributors are granted the ability to look but not touch these particular ships. Now, we've actually been granted the right to play these ships on PTS, but we are not allowed to show you that footage. I haven't had time to do it this weekend anyway, so even if I had played these ships, I couldn't tell you, but since I haven't, well, it's nice and simple. I have nothing to say. So let's have a quick look here as we start going through Izmail. Let's have a look at what we've got. First off, 56,000 HP, essentially. That's pretty normal for this tier, pretty average for Tier 6. If we look at her armor, our belt armor clocks in around 300 millimeters. Again, pretty, slightly below what you'll find New Mexico and Arizona, for example, are 343 millimeters. But this is certainly stout enough to be working at Tier 6. Her torpedo protection belt, her torpedo damage protection is very much on the low side here, only 16%, so she's really not going to enjoy torpedoes. Her bow armor is really interesting. Check out these reinforced strakes in her bow, 113 millimeters, 125, 181, then back to the 300 millimeter belt. This is not a ship that you're going to be able to overmatch her bow with pretty much anything. She comes in with 12 14-inch rifles in 4 triple turrets. You see them here. One forward, one in two kind of midships here, and then one aft. Very similar to the firepower to what you'll find, again, on New Mexico, Arizona, that sort of thing. In fact, those are probably her nearest analogs. She has worse dispersion and better sigma than New Mexico, but worse sigma and approximately the same dispersion as Arizona. Her shell velocities are a little slower than the Americans, but probably not so much you'd notice. So if you like playing Arizona, New Mexico, Izmail's ballistics and gun performance is probably going to be something you're very familiar with. Her secondary batter isn't really anything special here. She's got a lot of 130 millimeter barrels, some in singles, some in doubles. The doubles have a pretty quick reload there. You can see 5 seconds, but with only a 4-kilometer range, if you really need these things, you're in trouble. Let's just put it that way. Her AA is hard to gauge right now, and the reason for that is that on 0.8.1 Test Center, we're still using the pre-hotfix AA values. You see here, look at those flat burst values, 2,500 here at Tier 6. Those have all been tuned down on live, which means that she should have more continuous aura damage there. You see 46. That number should be higher while the flat burst damage is lower. We don't see that right now. So if I'm extrapolating this based on the changes that we saw based on what was in 8.0 going to 8.1 on the live server, her long-range aura, I feel like, is probably going to be pretty typical for Tier 6. Her long-range aura is, it's not going to be as good as Bayern or Prince Idol Friedrich, but her mid-range aura should be pretty solid. Like this 199 number, this is prefix, and this is already pretty good. This number is only going to go up. So I think that she's going to be pretty solid in the mid-range and not so great in the long range. From a maneuverability standpoint, you can see here 28.5 knots, 830 meters on the turning circle, 12 seconds on the rudder shift. She's not French fast, right? But almost 29 knots is pretty respectable for Tier 6 when the Americans are still getting around with 21 knots. So cannot really complain like that. It's a good thing that she has a lot of speed because she don't have much stealth, right? She's a battleship. That's not her thing. She's not the easiest Tier 6 battleship to spot. Fuso's Pagoda Mast guarantees that she will retain that honor for quite some time. But she is easier to detect than a lot of the other Tier 6 battleships. Pretty much all of the American, British, and German battleships outspot her. West Virginia is the only outlier of that group. From a consumable standpoint, she does have just the typical damage control party and repair. Nothing special, nothing fancy. You see here on turret number 3, she does have a catapult for an aircraft and cranes to reservice them, but there are no aircraft available in either hull. Sometimes, there was a time where we'd find them on the A hull, but not on the B hull. Right now, Izmail doesn't have a plane on either hull, despite clearly having aircraft facilities on board. I'm not sure what the deal with that is. All around, guys, she looks like a pretty solid battleship for Tier 6. She may not necessarily be the best battleship to lead the charge if there's a destroyer out there because, well, she's going to eat torpedo damage for days. But she definitely, with this armor belt, she has the ability to push opposing battleships and not get punished through the bow. So she has that ability if she needs to flex it. All right, guys, we're going to get on to some of the other battleships here. Keep an eye out on the channel, and we'll have the rest of the Russian battleship previews up very shortly. Thanks for watching.